Good evening and welcome to the first segment of Crossing the Divide, the show that promotes and encourages common sense as we analyze and discuss current events and issues facing the town of Winchester. My name is Glenn Albanesius and I'm joined tonight by Mr. Ken Fracasso, former mayor and current selectman. Good evening, Ken.
Good evening, Glenn. I'd like to start out with some of the people here in town think that they know us. However, we've been characterized quite differently by the press. I'm the mean, loud one.
And I'm the quiet, measured selectman.
We actually are both married men here in town with families. Our children go to school. I have a son in Gilbert School, as does Glenn. My children, when they were younger, went to St. Anthony's School. We supposedly are, education haters and children haters.
And that really couldn't be further from the truth, Ken. I mean, all three of my kids came through Bachelor and Pearson and on through Gilbert. We worked closely with teachers and administrators and just made certain that they got a good education. And the fact that we've taken the positions we have, I don't think are accurate. I mean, as far as the opinions that people associate with us,
Right.
Couldn't be further from the truth.
We don't like town employees, I guess. Want to fire everybody,
Yeah.
and no benefits. Actually, what we're trying to do is restructure it so it's something that the town can afford. We need to rein in our expenses and get the proper fit for what we need for the town of Winchester. And over the coming weeks, we hope to use this show to start a dialogue with you, the taxpayers. We'll be asking for your feedback. Maybe do a forum in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. We're still working on that because we'd like to hear what your ideas are. Maybe they don't gel exactly with what we have been saying, and we'd like to get some feedback and some input from you because you, in the final, are the ones that are paying for this tax bill to keep this town operating. Over the past few years, there's been several ideas, whether to rehabilitate or demolish some of the empty mill buildings, which we have a few of, creating incentives to revitalize the Winston neighborhoods, especially the downtown area, albeit a small amount. I think there was $20,000 in the budget. We need 10 times that. I mean, it should be $200,000 if we have any hope of doing anything with the downtown, area in the private homes.
Right. And we've also, again, core to our initiatives that Ken and I have spoken pretty clearly and concisely about. One, closing a school building. We feel that not only are there savings on the school side, but also to the town as well. And clearly, if we can garner a little bit more support for that initiative, I think that will help get monies moved to the town side and to the investment side of the equation, as we've said quite clearly in the past. And if you take a look at surrounding towns, Ken, I know that recently New Hartford has initiated analysis of closing a school, and most recently Colebrook and Norfolk. There was a pretty lengthy set of articles in the paper that because of declining enrollment in both communities, they are realizing that there are going to have to be changes as far as the facility is concerned. And you and I have been pretty steadfast in saying that done correctly, that shouldn't inhibit the value of the education, but rather put together a framework for a less costly infrastructure and savings that can be translated into additional educational resources, or savings to the town where on the town side we desperately need it because the education is 2/3 of the budget, if I'm correct.
No, you're exactly correct. And that's what needs to happen. There has to be efficiencies everywhere possible that we can find in order so that, as you stated, redirect those funds to where they need to go, to the education of the students, not to more administrators, not to more benefit packages for administrators, not for pickup trucks, for the
Not for
janitors.
Not for raises.
I mean, yeah, and it's... this education should be about the students. We've been through this, for the last 4 or 5 years, as long as I've been here doing this job. And, we are in the job of educating the students, not providing, lifelong jobs for teachers. Not to say that, I'm not knocking the teachers at all. But, there has to be a refocus of where these dollars hard to come by dollars are being funneled. There's and there's other things. The audit that's been consistently late for the past several years, that needs to change. And now with the exiting of our town finance director, Henry Centrella, we need to find a top-notch replacement. You know, for years we've been saying that we need to get someone that could, you know, step into Henry's position, or at least have some knowledge of what's going on there. And you know, that hasn't happened. So now we're stuck between a rock and a hard place where we've got to move, you know, immediately, and we need to find someone that can fill his shoes and fill them properly.
Right, and to back up just a little bit, a couple years back, 2010, the townspeople wisely, in a charter change, did vote overwhelmingly. I think I had the vote count at 1215 to 433 to consolidate finance departments between the town and the Board of Ed, recognizing that was an opportunity, a clear opportunity for the town not only to save money but create efficiencies. And it has been a battle trying to move that initiative forward, despite the fact that the townspeople voted very clearly that they wanted that to happen.
Right.
And we have, certainly you and I have championed that ever since that vote was taken, and we'll continue to, because we see the value of that vote and the wisdom of the people saying we don't need to have those two finance departments. And,
right. Well, it's a story of, once again, we're staring a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, we'll never have a better opportunity than we do now with the retirement of Henry, and I think the time is right. We've already taken the vote. This is what the townspeople want to do. It's their say. They're the ones that are footing the bill. So, we need to get someone. I envision an assistant maybe for this. Someone on the Board of Ed side, but like one chairman, so to speak, or one head of this department, right, which would be a new hire.
Right.
But it's situations like that we need to take a stand, and we need to make changes. And there's no better time than now. It's just came right up to us.
And if you look at it, I mean, it's tough to be optimistic or excited when you're going through situations like this. But the reality is that we do have opportunities. It's not as if there are no opportunities for us to save and be more efficient. And again, you look around at surrounding communities and states. We're not alone in the situations we're facing, but it's not as if we don't have areas that we can focus on, efficiencies and initiatives that we can tackle and gain savings from and be better positioned, going forward. So the fact that we have some opportunities, I'm optimistic about that.
Right. Well, there are, as you say, there are several initiatives to cover on the Board of Education side, on the town side, but we need to start having serious discussions, because nothing's going to happen. We need to start implementing a program and move these things forward. We need to get our expenses in line with our revenues. I mean, that's a fundamental issue that faces all communities. We're not, Winchester is not unique to any of these problems, and but we need to get our hands around it and quickly.
Yeah, and we don't want to kick the can, as we brought tonight, down the street like we've been doing for so many years. We need to start to understand that there's a sense of urgency to what's going on right now. The future of our town is at stake. I couldn't say it any clearer. There may be those that disagree with me, you and I, Ken, but I will continue to state, and anybody that wants to engage me in a conversation, that unless we start to do some of these things and do them now, that this town is going to be in worse shape or tougher shape next year and the year after. So again, I'm going to continue to be an optimist and say that if we can turn the corner on some of these things, engage the majority that we sit with right now to kind of come around on some of these ideas and move forward, I think we're going to be much better positioned than we are right now. But we need to start to do this stuff post haste.
Right. I think maybe even a more complex situation is the town's economy. I mean, it's broken, and the town's also divided. We have a main street that is dying. The neighborhoods downtown especially are in disrepair. They're in a free fall from a financial standpoint. And there seems to be a disconnect between that area of town and what's perceived as the more affluent area around the lake and the outlying areas, in the Winchester areas. You know, we need to stop this, you know, we and them. We're all in this thing together. We're in the same boat. And we need to start realizing that and working towards a common goal.
Right. And that speaks to leadership too, and we really, you know, right now we're lacking a clear policy of what needs to be developed and what needs to be preserved. The town is, you know, becoming fractionalized in a way that prevents progress, and that should be less of the case if we had a consensus of you know, where we are and where we want to be. You know, government, both the town and the schools, has kind of stepped out of the picture. And you know, we focused on, you know, a lot of small short-term goals, and trying to get this budget to, you know, zero. And I hear that more and more from people that are kind of throwing their hands up and say, you know, let's just get it to zero and be done with it. And again, kick the can down the street. And that has never been what you and I have advocated.
Right.
And I think tonight we'll have an opportunity to share some of the reasoning, you know, why it's never been about zero. It's been about a good, solid, you know, progressive budget. I dread using that word, but a budget that, you know, not only addresses, you know, our ability to you know, not burden the taxpayers any more than we have, but to give them some hope and opportunity that some of the money is going to be directed in ways that, you know, is changing the complexity of downtown.
Right.
And bringing in businesses and doing some of the things that we've been talking about forever. And I know that, Ken, you and I, you know, we're 2 votes on a board of 7, and it's been extremely difficult for us with the finger pointing and whatnot that we haven't advanced our plans, and I don't think that's the case at all, because unless we get some, you know, commitment from, you know, the brethren on the other side to move forward, you know, all we can do is just continue to champion what we believe in and wait until the dynamics of the board change, I guess.
Well, I mean, and it wasn't that we didn't have ideas. They didn't like our ideas.
Right.
I mean, we started this off, you know, we could go back a year after the election and, you know, when we had money in a fund balance, and they, you know, they immediately wanted to take that and, you know, give it back to the Board of Ed without even going to having a hearing about this, you know, MBR situation. So they inevitably just about bankrupted us. I mean, they took almost everything that we had in the fund balance out. But I have to give the taxpayers credit. I don't think that, you know, some members of the board. Well, let me back up. You say this before about a zero. It wasn't a zero for zero's sake. We had to have. I like to call it a smart zero. You know, they had to find some savings that the people could vote for, that they could see we're going to turn this thing around. You know, and by saving a few dollars on an insurance plan and giving it back in pay increases, we're in a worse position than we are now.
Right.
I mean, so we need to make these decisions, these tough choices, you know, now, because it's the only way that we're going to see any light at the end of the tunnel. So I think the benefits, coupled with the fact that the majority of the people in town don't believe that the Board of Education are doing the right thing, I think that's the reason that we've had these failed budgets. It's not because of the 2 votes you and I possess. You know, there's 15, 16, 18, however many people it is that come out to vote. They're the ones that are making decisions.
Right. It's not the postcards or the mailers or
right.
You know, I think people have, you know, they've been to this rodeo more than once. I hate to use an old phrase, but the fact of the matter is that I think the taxpayers do understand the situation, and they're suspicious of government and where we've kind of carried them, you know, over the past many years. And I think they have, you know, finally realized that they do have some power and authority to say that, you know, it's time for change to happen. And I think you and I have advocated solid, you know, opportunities and initiatives. Again, we'll outline, you know, a number of them tonight, but moving forward, I think we do have the support of people that, you know, are at the point where they're ready to say, no more kicking the can down the street, we're going to do things differently.
Right. And I think also, and I've mentioned this before, that, you know, none of these things that we're talking about, especially on the Board of Education side, are things that we've initiated. When you go back to when Blaise Salerno was a superintendent, after the consolidation at Gilbert School, his opening line in the budget was that due to the consolidation of 7th and 8th graders to Gilbert School and the extreme reduction in the number of students that are here, because we've just had an enrollment that decline that's over the last probably 6 or 7 years, and it's been extreme. Anyways, getting back to Blaze, he said that due to those two conditions that we would be closing the school building, and then they changed their mind and they didn't. And along the same lines, when they were looking for a replacement for Blaze, they said they were going to hire a part-time guy at around $75,000. And what do? They bring a full-time guy in and pay him more than they were paying Blaze to begin with. And then to add insult to injury, they give him a $16,000 raise in the first 10 months that he's here. Mm-hmm. And if that wasn't enough, they decided to buy a pickup truck for the janitor, a brand new pickup truck. So, I mean, they just continue to slap the taxpayer in the face, or spit in their face, if you want to say that. It's, they just go about things what we perceive as the wrong way. I mean, their priorities are not where they need to be.
And it's borne itself out in the votes. I mean, clearly, if we're, 4 times in, I mean, the fact is that people see this for what it is.
Right.
And it's not anything you and I are making up. I mean,
No.
it's, we've been accused of, having some kind of stake in the outcome, and I
Personal gain?
yeah,
I'd like to know what that is. I mean, I don't know how I could realize, or you for that matter, realize a personal gain from the closing of a school or from not passing a budget. But I think a lot of this is born out of frustration. And you could go back 2 more years. I mean, it's been the same thing. I says nothing's gotten done.
Right.
Nothing's changed.
Right.
It's business as usual. We just keep rolling with the motion here, and it's just one day runs into the next, and absolutely nothing changed.
Right. And I think it's incumbent on you and I to continue to stay focused on what we've come up with as far as our ideas. And as Ken said before, we'll certainly accept any challenges to what we think, and we don't have the answers to everything, but we will ask community members and taxpayers, what ideas they have. I mean, we're open to suggestions like that. I think, personally, and I'd go out on a limb and say that I speak for you as well. I mean, we love the community. We both have invested our time here, serving on the board. We have our family stake set up here in town and want nothing but the best. And it's sad sometimes to realize just how much potential, and you hear that word over and over and over again, every year, especially campaign season, how much potential this town has. And all we need to do is get some momentum built by starting to do some of these basic, make these changes that we've talked about here, implement them and move forward, because the sooner we do, the sooner we're going to start to see the benefits. And once we start to see the benefits, then I think we start to move the town forward.
I think we need to invest to grow our community, and the money for that investment lies within the existing tax and revenue base.
Right.
And this is something that been talked about, but nothing's been enacted on. We know what our problems are. We need to face them and start to fix them. And we need to realize that, it's not illegal to consolidate staff. It's not illegal to close a school. There's several communities in Connecticut that have already done it, and I'm sure there'll be several more. Right. It's not illegal to change contracts or to renegotiate new ones. It's not illegal to save money. Right. I mean, we hear this time and time again. Whenever we do bring up an idea, it gets shot down for one reason or another, where you can't do it because of this and you can't do it because of that. You can. And we need to change that mindset. And that's the only way that we're going to dig ourselves out of the hole that we were in.
And you look at nationally at some of the states that have, real crises on hand, and some of the measures that they've gone to correct them. And, they took on the status quo. There's no 2 ways about it. And the fact that they did it and won and are proving the initiative to be right, is something that I'm all about. I just want it to, work and happen. I think that we're certainly to that point here in town. I just want to maybe spend a couple minutes and talk about the reval, just outline its impact, not only on the taxpayers but the budget. There's been a lot of banter back and forth about that, but clearly the fact that downtown has deteriorated such a great deal over the years. For people that aren't familiar with the formula, basically, people pay their taxes. It's based on the value of their personal property, and the fact that there are pockets in town, specifically the lake and Winchester Center, that have held value, while downtown, homes and businesses have continued to lose value. That tax burden is going to shift pretty significantly to some of the outlying areas, and that's going to create a problem.
Oh, it's going to be a huge problem. I mean, we've tried to bring this forward too, and we both realize that it's not affecting the budget year that we're working on right now. However, we know that there's a tsunami coming, and we're trying to prepare for it. And I probably shouldn't throw this number out there, but because I don't have anything in front of me, but I believe our grand list is around $815 or $816 million. And I would not be the least bit surprised to see that drop over $100 million.
Right.
I firmly believe that we're going to be below $700 million. And that's going to be a severe hurt.
And there's other communities we've seen right here in the state where communities have seen a 15 and 20% drop,
Or more for some of them.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's financially for the town to continue to function. That's reality. That's something you have to address. You can't just close your eyes and protect the status quo and push a budget forward without addressing the fact that a major portion of your community is now going to be burdened with additional taxes. That's something you have to address.
And the purpose for us bringing this up while we're working this budget year was simply stated, as I just said, that it's all going to come at once, and we're not prepared for this. I mean, we're struggling. We're in our fourth budget proposal right now, and I'll be very honest with you. I don't see it passing until there are some savings that are realized on the education side as well as on the town side through get some givebacks, whether it's in benefits or in time or money raises. I mean, there has to be something that happens, and it has to happen soon, because as I stated already, as bad as this year is, it's not a glimmer of what we have to look forward to next year when we're going through the same process again.
And we really are going to need to protect the taxpayers and the businesses too, because businesses are impacted by the reval as well.
Yeah.
And they're the lifeblood of the revenue here. And until we start to tackle the revenue side, which will be certainly a topic of a future meeting, we need to factor in the impact that the reval is going to have.
Right. The other thing, the solution to our problem lies within. The state's not going to help us. The feds aren't going to help us. They're in worse shape than we are. So, we have the ability, we have the authority to address our own problems, and that's what we need to do. Because, as I said, the state and the feds don't have the time, nor the capacity, or the investment to fix our problems here in little old Winsted.
Right. And we certainly, Ken and I, would both, welcome the majority to join us on the causes and initiatives that we've targeted. And the reality is that until we all, are in this together, it's unlikely that we're going to get to be where we need to be. And I would certainly encourage, all 7 of us, at least on the board, to work together as closely as we can to come to a consensus and accept the realities that we're facing. And I think the sooner that we do that, the better.
I know we'll have opportunities because we're going to do this show once a week. But before we close tonight, I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I'd just like to talk about the budget for just a little bit. As I stated, we're in our 4th try here, and they're touting that it's a 0% increase. However, if it wasn't for the fact that we had a one-time $190,000, I guess we shouldn't call it a gift, but it's a give back from RRD1,
Right.
We wouldn't be looking at a 0 budget. That, coupled with the fact that we have a police officer that's going to retire in January, and the money for his base salary plus some overtime is figured into that. So, I mean, that's money that, I guess there's no intention to hire a replacement. We're already down, I believe, 2 officers. This will make 3. But here again, if we're not going to replace the officers that we have lost and are going to continue to lose, then that's just going to make the overtime budget skyrocket, and skyrocket rapidly. So, I hate to keep referring to kicking a can here, but it comes back to the same thing all the time. You know, we're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. We're taking these one-time revenue things that we're never going to see again, and we're just trying to limp ourselves along the road without taking any serious reductions or changing the way we do business. We cannot continue to go along the way we have. We have to take the time. We have to feel the pain. We have to make changes now, because it's only going to get worse.
Right. So we thank you for joining us tonight, and we encourage you to watch each and every week. Ken and I will bring as much value to the show as we possibly can. We are optimistic that we can get some of this stuff done. There are going to need to be some structural changes, but again, as I've said before, I said repeatedly that if we want savings to happen and we want some good optimistic initiatives to move forward, then they will. And the sooner that we accept that, I think the better off the town will be. And again, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.